Hello everyone, this is Shubhayu from IMS Lucknow. Uh, Today we are going to do CAT 2024 slot 1. The rest of the RCs in the previous video we have already done the first two RCs. Now the first RC that we are having, it is there on the screen. It is starting with landing in Australia. Now it is a common trend in CAT that we often kind of get passages which are related to animals. Sometimes we get passages related to elephant seals, sometimes related to elephants and other animals, wolves, cattle, catfish, and a lot of other kind of animals. So like that, here we have an animal related passage. First, what we will do is we will go through this particular RC and then solve the questions. I hope everybody can see this particular RC on the screen. Let's go to the first paragraph. The first paragraph says, landing in Australia, the British colonists weren't much impressed with the small bodied, slender snouted marsupials called bandicoots. Their muzzle, which is much too long, gives them an air exceedingly stupid, one naturalist noted in 1805. They nicknamed one type the zebra rat because of its black striped rump. So rump basically stands for the back part of the particular animal. Silly looking or not, though, the zebra rat, the smallest bandicoot, more commonly known today as the western bird bandicoot, exhibited a genius for survival in the harsh outback where its ancestor has persisted for some 26 million years. Its births were triggered by rainfall in the bone dry desert. It carried its breath mint sized babies with a very small kind of babies in a backward facing pouch so mothers could forage for food and dig shallow camouflage shelters. So basically ये बैंडिकूट बोल के काइंड ऑफ एनिमल के बारे में बोल रहा है. It is describing the various habitats, various particular digging habits, कहाँ पे वो रहता है, ये सब इस पैराग्राफ में समझाया जा रहा है. Once again, the name of the animal is marsupial, known as bandicoot. Going to the second paragraph, it says, still these adaptations, the adaptations matlab, if you go to the previous paragraph's last line, uh, forage for food, dig shallow shelters, camouflage shelters, these are basically adaptations. These adaptations did not prepare the western bird bandicoots for the colonial era transformation of its ecosystem. Okay, let's just pause here once. When we're talking about colonial era transformation, we are talking about the British era. When the British had captured, or the Australia was under the particular British rule. So let's continue. Particularly the onslaught of imported British animals from cattle and rabbits that damaged delicate desert vegetation to ravenous house cats that soon developed a taste for bandicoots. Several of the dozen odd bandicoot species went extinct, and by 1940s, the western bird bandicoot, whose original range stretched across much of the continent, persisted only on two predator-free islands in Shark Bay of Australia's western coast. Now, what is this particular paragraph saying? ये बोल रहा है कि एक टाइम जब ब्रिटिशर्स ऑस्ट्रेलिया में गए, वो अपना जो एनिमल्स थे उसको लेके गए. फॉर एग्जांपल, वी हैव मेंशन ऑफ कैटल्स एंड रैबिट्स. When these animals went there, they started destroying the natural vegetation of the place. वहाँ का जो जानवर थे उनको खा लिया, उसका जो particular vegetation है उसको destroy कर लिया. So ये करते करते जो बैंडिकूट का जो population था वो धीरे धीरे खत्म हो गया. The last particular line, if we go, it says that by 1940s, the western bird bandicoot, whose original range stretched across much of the continent, persisted only on two predator-free islands. Predator-free islands, मतलब जहाँ पे उसको उसको खाने के लिए और कोई नहीं था. It was predator-free in Shark Bay of West Australia's western coast. So, is the two paragraphs clear to everyone? All right, let us go forward to the third paragraph, which starts with our isolated fauna. It says our isolated fauna had simply not been exposed to these predators, said a Reiki peddler, an ecologist with the Wild Desert Conservation Program. Now, Wild Deserts is using descendants of those few thousand island survivors called Shark Bay Bandicoots in a new effort to seed a mainland bandicoot revival. तो अभी क्या ट्राई किया जा रहा है? जो बैंडिकूट बचे हुए थे उसको यूज करके ये बैंडिकूट का जो पॉपुलेशन है उसको रिवाइव करने का कोशिश किया जा रहा है. They have imported 20 bandicoots to a preserve on the edge of the Streletsky Desert in the remote interior of New South Wales. This sanctuary is a challenging place, desolate much of the year, with one of the world's most mercurial rainfall patterns, relentless droughts followed by sudden drenching floods. So ये जगह जो है ये काफ़ी चैलेंजिंग है. वहाँ पे फ्लड्स आते हैं. The particular place is full of relentless droughts, and in this particular desert they are trying to reinforce or say for example revive the population of bandicoots. So देखिए what is this three paragraphs talking about? We have a particular animal called bandicoot. उसका population British के कारण खत्म हो गया because of the British particular domesticated cats. It almost went to the verge of extinction. Now there is an attempt to revive the population of bandicoots. Is everybody clear till now? Are we understanding? Okay, let's go to the fourth paragraph. देखिए बीच बीच में आपको कुछ ऐसा भी वर्ड्स मिल जाएंगे जो डिफिकल्ट है, उसको भी थोड़ा सा नोट कर लीजिएगा. जैसे कि इफ यू लुक एट द थर्ड पैराग्राफ फर्स्ट लाइन इटसेल्फ, वहां पे आपको एक वर्ड मिलेगा फोना. उसका एक सेकंड पर्टिकुलर वर्ड हम ऐड कर सकते हैं फ्लोरा. FLORA, फ्लोरा एंड फोना. सो विच रिप्रेजेंट्स द एनिमल्स एंड वेजिटेशंस ऑफ ए प्लेस. तो जो वर्ड्स आपको डिफिकल्ट लग रहा है आप उसको थोड़ा सा नोट कर लीजिए, वीडियो को पॉज करके उसको नोट कर लीजिएगा. Okay, coming to the next part, fourth paragraph, it says the imported bandicoots occupy two fence enclosures cleared of invasive rabbits and of feral cats, slunk off once the rabbits disappeared. A third fenced area contains the program's wild training zone, where two other rare marsupials, bilbies, a large type of bandicoot, and mulgaras, a somewhat fearsome fuzzball known for sucking the brains out of prey, currently share terrain with controlled number of cats learning to evade them. It's unclear whether the Sharkway bandicoots, which are perhaps even more predator naive than their now extinct mainland bandicoot king, will be able to make that kind of breakthrough. देखिए इस पर्टिकुलर पैराग्राफ में बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बोला गया है. It says that there are two particular three enclosures. First particular part says that two fence enclosures clears for invasive rats, ये bandicoot को रखा गया है. Third enclosure में, which is there in the second line, there is certain bandicoots who are kind of being trained to evade the predators, ताकि predators से वो kind of बच के रह सके. इसका ट्रेनिंग उसको दिया जा रहा है. एंड ये इसका क्लैरिटी नहीं है कि वो से फॉर एग्जाम्पल ये कर पाएगा कि नहीं, बट ये ट्रेनिंग उसको दिया जा रहा है ताकि वो प्रेडेटर को इवेड कर पाए, उसको वो अवॉइड कर पाए. Coming to the last paragraph, it says, for now, though, a recent surge of rainfall has led to the Bandicoot Joey boom. Bandicoot Joey stands for the babies of Bandicoot. उसका number बढ़ गया है. So basically, the paragraph is talking about revival of the Bandicoot. इसके बारे में ये लोग successful हुआ है. Raising the wild deserts population to about 100. With other sanctuaries adding to that number. There is also signs of rebirth in the landscape itself. With their constant digging, the bandicoot trap moisture and allow for seed germination so the cattle damaged desert can restore itself. They have a new nickname, a flattering one this time. We call them ecosystem engineers, Peddler says. मतलब ये जो रिवाइवल हुआ है अभी 100 के करीबन आपका बैंडिकूट हो गया है और भी नंबर बढ़ रहा है. इसके कारण जो आसपास का जो जमीन है उस पर भी फर्क पड़ा है. द पर्टिकुलर क्वालिटी ऑफ लैंड हैज आल्सो बिकम काइंड ऑफ बेटर because जो लास्ट लाइन बोल रहा है with their constant digging the bandicoots trap moisture, so maybe they have become more kind of better in terms of kind of land content. एंड इसके लिए इसको एक नाम दिया गया है. क्या नाम दिया गया है? They have a new nickname, a flattering one this time. We call them ecosystem engineers. That says. So this is the paragraph. Overall, I guess this paragraph is clear enough. उतना difficult paragraph ये है नहीं. And if you look at slot 1 of CAT 2024, ये पर्टिकुलर पैसेज आपको करना ही चाहिए क्योंकि इसमें से फॉर एग्जाम्पल पैसेज काफी इजी है, अंडरस्टैंडेबल है, एंड द सब्जेक्ट इज नॉट वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. लेट्स गो टू द क्वेश्चंस. चलिए हम क्वेश्चन पे चलते हैं. क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, it says according to the text, western bird bandicoots now have a flattering name because they have. Now अभी से फॉर एग्जाम्पल देखिए क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 relates to what? Question number 1 relates to the last paragraph. हम अभी ये लास्ट पैराग्राफ पढ़े थे जहां पे बोला जा रहा है कि उसका एक फ्लैटरिंग निकनेम दिया गया है. Question number 1 talks about that question. It says the western bandicoot now have a flattering name because. किस कारण इस नेम को दिया गया है? अभी बैंडिकूट ने क्या किया था? वो जो लैंड था उस लैंड को उसने ऐसे करके डिग किया है which has become better for, say for example, farming. Let's go to the last paragraph once and go through it once again. It says that, coming to the second sentence, second line of the last paragraph, it says there is also signs of rebirth in the landscape itself. With their constant digging, the bandicoot trap moisture and allow for seed germination, so the cattle damaged desert can restore itself. देखिए एकदम लास्ट पैराग्राफ का लास्ट 3 लाइंस. इस कारण, for this particular reason, for the service they have done to the land by their digging, they have been given, this is the reason why they have been given this particular nickname. Now options क्या क्या है? Option number A, it says aided in altering an arid environment, led to a revival in preserving the species, grown fivefold in terms of population, led to a surge in increase of rainfall. देखिए ये क्वेश्चन काफी इजी है बिकॉज बाकी सारे ऑप्शन एलिमिनेशन से ही पर्टिकुलर कैंसिल हो जाएंगे सिवाय द पर्टिकुलर वन दैट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. फॉर एग्जांपल लेट अस लुक एट डी. It says led to a surge and increase of rainfall. No, this cannot be the reason. The digging of the particular bandicoot cannot be the reason for the rainfall. Grown fivefold in terms of population. It's true, but it has got nothing to do with the land. Number B, led a revival in preserving the species. Maybe it's true. The numbers have increased, but once again, it has got nothing to do with the land. Option number A says aided in altering an arid environment. Arid matlab something which is not prone to irrigation or something which is a kind of bad quality of land. So इस arid land को उसने kind of change कर दिया by their digging. So question number 1, correct answer is option number A. Is everybody clear with question number 1? Okay. Let's go to question number 2. Question number 2 says, which one of the following options does not represent the characteristics of western bird bandicoot? इस क्वेश्चन में हमें दो चीज नोटिस करना है. नंबर 1, what is it talking about? Characteristics of western bird bandicoot. सेकेंड चीज नोटिस करना है, it is talking about not. So कौन सा वाला वेस्टर्न बर्ड बैंडिकूट्स का कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स नहीं है, हमें वही मार्क करना है जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स नहीं है. So let's come to the first paragraph. First paragraph, if we just run through the first paragraph, what are the kind of lines we are getting? It's like their muzzle, zebra rat, black striped rump, silly looking or not. So these are the things that we are getting. So एक बार हम first paragraph को पढ़ लेंगे. It says, landing in Australia, the British colonists weren't much impressed with a small bodied, please have a look at these particular words, very, very important words. Small bodied, slender snooted marsupials called bandicoots. Their muzzle, which is much too long, gives them an air exceedingly stupid. One naturalist noted in 1805, they nicknamed one type the zebra rat because of its black stripped rump. Rump stands for back. Silly looking or not though, the zebra rat, the smallest bandicoot, It is being termed as the smallest bandicoot, more commonly known today as a western bird bandicoot, exhibited a genius for survival in the harsh outback, where its ancestor has persisted for some 26 million years. Its birth was triggered by rainfall in the bone dry desert. It carried its breath mint-sized babies in the backward-facing pouch so mothers could forage for food and dig shallow and camouflage shelters. ये first paragraph से हम इस particular questions का answer derive करेंगे. So let's go to the first option. First option says that shallow diggers having an elongated muzzle. So shallow diggers, we have got this particular word in this first paragraph itself, shallow diggers. If you go to the last line, first paragraph, last line, it says uh, they dig shallow and elongated muzzle. If you go to the second line of the paragraph, it says their muzzle which is much too long. So ये दोनों combine करके option A मिल रहा है. So option A is not answer. So A answer नहीं होगा. Coming to option number C, it says look of a rat but with a baby pouch and a slender snout. देखिए baby pouch, backward facing pouch, जो say for example penultimate line of the first paragraph में है, from we can derive this. Then you have a slender snout that is also given in the third, second and third line of this particular paragraph. And the first line itself, slender snooted marsupial. देखिए first paragraph, first line का line में देखिए slender snooted marsupial. So option number C can be derived from this particular part. Number D says long thin nose, black stripped back, pouch for joeys. The pouch for joeys once again come to the penultimate line of the first paragraph, the second last line of the first paragraph, जहाँ पे बोल रहा है it carried its breath min-sized babies in backward facing pouch. ये pouch for joeys वाला part आ गया. Black strip back, we have got in the third line of this particular first paragraph, black stripped rump. Rump stands for back. So ये वाला option number D आ गया. Now just have a look at option number B. B says smallest black strip marsupials. Smallest part is there. It is there in this 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth line. It says the smallest bandicoot, more commonly known to the western bird bandicoot. So smallest strip marsupial. Then if you go to the next part, it says that uses camouflage and dig. You have to notice this particular part very clearly, very minutely. It says uses camouflage and dig. If you go to the last sentence, it says so mothers could forage for food and dig shallow camouflage shelters. जो shelters उसने बनाते थे वो छुपा हुआ था, वो छुप के shelter नहीं बनाते थे. So there's a difference between these two meanings. So once again it says camouflage shelters, मतलब जो shelters बनाते थे that was hidden. But point number B says they uses camouflage and dig, मतलब वो छुप के dig करता था, which is very different from what the paragraph says. And hence option B is the correct answer for question number 2. Are we clear with question number 2? Going forward to question number 3, the text uses the word exclosures because wild deserts has adopted measure of. Now, where do you find this particular exclosures? Come to 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth paragraph. It says the imported bandicoots occupy 2 fence exclosures cleared of invasive rabbits. Now, ये जो exclosures है इसको क्यों बनाए थे? ताकि ये जो bandicoots वहां पे है उसको कोई खा ना ले, the invasive species उसको खा ना ले, ठीक है? ताकि the effort was to revive its particular lot and hence उसको घेर दिया गया था. Now, if you go to options, option number A says that restoring cattle damaged deserts to green landscapes, riding the main deserts of feral cats and large wildebeest, excluding animals to make the islands predator free, and barring the entry of invasive species. Very clearly, the correct answer is option number D, barring the entry of invasive species. ये say for example कारण था for this particular exclusion. Others can be eliminated. Option number C, excluding animals to make the islands predator free. पूरा आइलैंड को हम प्रेडेटरी नहीं कर पाएंगे, सो सी विल बी कैंसल्ड. B says riding the main desert of feral cats and large babies. Reading the main particular desert. Reading is not the correct particular purpose, because हमें सिर्फ वही kind of bandicoots को बचाना है. Restoring cattle damaged deserts to green landscapes. इसके साथ ये exposure का कोई connection है नहीं. And hence option number D is the correct answer. Moving to question number 4, which says, which one of the following statements provides the gist of this passage? मतलब the summary of the passage. ये पैराग्राफ में ओवरऑल क्या बोला गया? If I just put it in 2-3 points. There's a particular animal called bandicoot, marsupial called bandicoot, जिसका नंबर काफी कम हो गए थे, ऑलमोस्ट एक्सटिंक्ट हो गया था. उसको रिवाइव किया गया है, उसको रिवाइव करने का काइंड ऑफ ट्राई किया गया है, एंड द नंबर्स हैव समवट इंक्रीज्ड. This is the entire paragraph all about. Now, if we go to option number D, it says the type of bandicoot was nearly wiped out. This is the first part. By invasive species like cats and cattle, but rescuers now pin hopes on the remnant island population. The pin hopes matlab pin hopes for their particular revival or the growth of their numbers from those bandicoots which are already present. This is the answer for option question number 4. बाकी जो answers है A, B and C, once again they are kind of either far-fetched or say for example incorrect. For example, let's check option number A. It says the onslaught of animals such as cattle, rabbits, house cats brought in by the British led to the extinction of western bird bandicoot. Yes, it's true. It's not say for example kind of incorrect. But ये paragraph का summary नहीं है. Paragraph summary should be the entire of it. The purpose of the entire paragraph is not there in option number A. Similarly, B and C also can be eliminated. So overall, this particular passage is a very doable passage, and there's a very big chance that if somebody does this particular passage, he might kind of get 4 out of 4 in this particular passage. Hope this passage is clear enough. Any point you want to kind of recheck, please pause this particular video and go through it once again. Moving on to the next RC. This one is comparatively a bit on the difficult side. Let's first read this particular RC, then we will discuss the questions. It says, in the summer of 2022, subscribers to the US streaming service HBO Max were alarmed to discover that dozens of platforms' offerings, from the COVID themes heist thriller Lockdown to the recent remake of The Witches, had been quietly removed from the service. The news seemed like a vindication to those who had long warned that streaming was more about controlling access to cultural commons than expanding it. As did reports, since denied by the show's creators, that Netflix had begun editing old episodes of Stranger Things to retroactively improve their visual effects. So let's stop here. देखिए, subject wise it is very different from the previous paragraph. What is the subject here? There are certain particular streaming platforms which seems to have tampered with their content. किसी ने say for example content हटा दिया है, किसी ने kind of पुराना episode को edit करना चालू किया है. So lot of particular new things has happened which does not kind of give a good impression, because ये line let's go through this second particular line once again. It says the news seems like a vindication to those who had long warned. Look at this words, vindication and warn. These are all somewhat on the negative sides. That streaming was more about controlling access to cultural commons than expanding it. So people were saying that these particular companies were trying to control what we are watching. I hope the first paragraph is clear enough. It sets the platform for the second paragraph. The second paragraph says, what's less clear is whether the commonly prescribed cure for these cultural ills, commonly prescribed cure, मतलब ये जो particular इल के बारे में फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में बताया गया है, जैसे कि कोई पर्टिकुलर कंटेंट को हटाया गया है, उसको मॉडिफाई किया गया है, उसका एक कॉमन क्योर, व्हाट इज दैट क्योर? A return to the material pleasures of physical media is the right one. So बोल रहे हैं कि we'll return to the kind of physical particular things like DVDs and all these things rather than online streaming. While the makers of Blu-ray discs claim they have a shelf life of 100 years, such statistics remain largely theoretical until they come to pass and are dependent on storage conditions, not to mention the continued availability of playback equipment. So the author is not very positive regarding the solution that has been given. He kind of gives more evidence to that. It says the humble DVD was already has already proved far less resilient, with many early releases already beginning to deteriorate in quality. Digital movie purchases provide even less security. Any film bought on iTunes could disappear if you move to another territory with a different rights agreement and try to re-download it. So it is talking about various particular problems that are kind of these kind of online platforms and kind of the solution is having. It's a bold new frontier in the commodification of art, the birth of product recall. Now, birth of a product recall, what does it mean? Once a product is gone, it is once again, say for example, revisited and kind of re-seen. So that is basically एक ही चीज को हम दूसरा बार यूज कर रहे हैं. That is product recall. After a man took to Twitter to bemoan losing access to Cars 2 after moving from Canada to Australia, Apple clarified that users who downloaded films to the devices would retain permanent access to these downloads even if they relocated to a hemisphere where the content was subject to a different set of rights agreement. But this is a particular good thing that Apple has done. But देखिए इसका भी एक loophole है. The next line talks about that. The author points this out. It says, thanks to the company's ironclad digital rights management technology, however, such less cannot be moved or backed up, locked you into watching with your Apple account. So आपको वो Apple account पे इसको देखना है, आप दूसरा कई जगह पे देख नहीं पाएंगे. So these are various particular problems that online particular streaming, online media is having. And till date, the particular till the second paragraph, the tone of the paragraph is quite negative, and the author is kind of being negative regarding the entire thing. Going to the third paragraph, it says, anyone who does manage to acquire digital rights management free copies of their favorite films. But this is basically a solution to the previously mentioned particular point. उसको digital rights management का copy मिल गया है. Even then, the author points out another problem. He says, anyone who does manage to acquire digital rights management free copies of their favorite films must nonetheless grapple with ever-changing format standards, not to mention data decay, the gradual process by which electronic information slowly but surely corrupts. Only the regular migration of people from a hard drive to hard drive can delay the inevitable in a Sisyphean battle against the ravages of digital time. Now, once again, we even if you get the copies of these favorite films, there can be other problems. Either तो आपका say for example जो data है वो corrupt हो जाएगा, या तो say for example जो जो format है, there are different kind of formats that will come up and it will not support the format that you are having. So once again, till the third paragraph, we are all we are till now talking about problems of this particular online streaming and how it can influence the particular the consumers and viewers. Coming to the last two paragraphs, it says, in a sense, none of this is new. This is perhaps where the mood or the tone of the paragraph becomes just a bit positive. It says, in a sense, none of this is new. मतलब ये जो problem के बारे में बताया जा रहा है, ये नया नहीं है, पहले भी शायद ये था. Charlie Chaplin burned the negative of his 1926 film, A Woman in the Sea, as a tax write-off. Many more films have been lost through accident, negligence, or plain indifference. During a heat wave in July 1937, a Fox film vault in New Jersey burned down, destroying a majority of the silent films produced by the studio. So Just as we are talking about data loss and loss of our particular favorite films, the author here gives examples, prior examples of all these things happening previously. So ये सब नया घटना नहीं है, ये पहले भी हो चुका है. But there's a catch. If you go to the next paragraph or the last paragraph, it says, back then at least cinema was defined by its ephemerality. So what is ephemerality? We used to expect that the film will come and film will go. So we did not have much references to say, for example, once the film is gone, it was gone. We did not want to get it back. But now that has changed. The sense that a film was as good as gone once it left your local cinema. Today, with this film studios keen to stress the breadth of their back catalogs, or to put in Hollywood terms, the value of their IPs, the audience may start to wonder why those same studios seem happy to set the vault alight themselves if it will help their next quarter's numbers. देखिए यहाँ पे बोल रहा है to stress the breadth of their back catalogs. What does this particular thing mean? ये यही बोल रहा है कि एक फिल्म हम एक्सपेक्ट करते थे वो आएगा, हम उसको देख लेंगे, वो चला जाएगा. Once again, we will watch this film later, storing the film in your particular laptop or in other system. ये कॉन्सेप्ट था ही नहीं. इन टूडेज टाइम दिस कॉन्सेप्ट इज वेरी प्रिवलेंट. हम फिल्म को स्टोर करते हैं ताकि हम उसको बाद में देख सकें. दैट इज से फॉर एग्जांपल अ न्यू थिंग व्हिच हैज हैपेंड compared to previous times. So overall, if we have to summarize this given paragraph, the paragraph is about the online particular streaming channels, how it can be, say, for example, corrupted, and how it can be kind of destroyed because of various challenges coming from various platforms. The fact that this is not a new phenomena, it has happened previously, but once again, the very fact that this very effect of storing films is a new phenomena which is there in the current times. The paragraph is all about that. Is everybody clear with the given paragraph? Chaliye, let us move on to the first question. It says, the first question says that which one of the following statements about art best captures the argument made in the past? So overall, this is a question based on the entire paragraph. It says, in the age of online subscriptions, it is time to change our understanding of classic works, generally immutable and easily available to the public. Now it is time to change our understanding of classic works of art. These things do not find mention in this particular given paragraph, and hence option number A cannot be the correct answer. Option number B says, as art is increasingly created, stored and distributed digitally, access to it is counterintuitively likely to be made more difficult by the rapid churn in technology and the whims of host platform. So this talks about the entire paragraph, that as new art is created, getting access to all this new particular art in the online digital particular platform is going to be more difficult, and it will depend on the whims of host platform like HBO and Netflix and all these particular companies. So option number B is the correct answer, but we will go through C and D as well. C says accepting retroactive changes to work of art is dangerous because it will encourage creators to not put enough efforts on their original attempt. Now let's not go any further. Now this paragraph says accepting retroactive changes to work of art is dangerous, but it will encourage creators not to put enough effort in their original attempt. So this particular part does not find mention in the paragraph. It is having some ambiguity as well. Nowhere in the paragraph anything of the sort has been mentioned. Option number D says works of art belong to cultural commons and hence must remain available in perpetuity, irrespective of who pays for access to them. Now look at the last line of this option number D. It says irrespective of who pays for access to them. Once again, this is not mentioned in the given paragraph. Anything regarding payment or not payment is not there. And hence option D is not the correct answer. So for question number 1, the correct answer is option number B. Bombay is the correct answer. Clear for everyone? Chaliye, moving on to question number 2. It says which one of the following statements, if true, would best invalidate the main argument. This is a somewhat critical reasoning based question. It says if true, कौन सा वाला अगर सच हुआ तो it will invalidate or kind of negate the main argument of the passage. Now, what is the main argument of the passage? Overall, the main argument is consumers, viewers are in trouble or are having hardships because of the entire particular change or transformation that is happening to these online streaming services in terms of format, in terms of different platforms, in terms of different geographical locations, and many other particular problems. The big part is that the consumers and the viewers are in trouble. Now, which one of the following, if true, will remove that trouble completely or negate the particular fact that they are in trouble? Now, if we straight go to option number B, it says studios and streaming services have committed to giving customers perpetual and platform independent access to original digital content they have paid for. If this is true, then all the problems faced by the particular customers and the viewers will be gone. So if they are given access, perpetual kind of platform independent access, so it solves all their problems. Option number A, C, and D, it will solve part their problem because there are multiple problems, sub problems that have been discussed in the paragraph. So A, C, and D will solve some of their particular sub problems, but not look at the entire particular aspect. And hence, question number 2, correct answer is option number D. Bombay is the correct answer. Going to the next question, it says, which of the following statement is suggested by the sentence, back then at least cinema was defined by its ephemerality. The sense that a film was good as gone once it's left your local cinema. Now, where do we find this line? If we go to this particular part, the very last paragraph, which starts off with, in a sense, none of this is new, and come to 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth line, you find this particular line. That back then, at least cinema was defined by its ephemerality. Now, let's first understand the meaning of this line. As we have already discussed, it means that पुराने जमाने में कोई फिल्म आता था, it was supposed to be ephemeral. फिल्म देख लिया, so our job is done or our entertainment is kind of attained. We forgot about the film. फिल्म के बारे में हम भूल जाते थे. Now look at the question. It says which of the following statement is suggested by the sentence. The suggested matlab, suggested we are not meaning what is the meaning of this sentence. By suggested we want to know what has been implied by this sentence. So what is implied is back then if a film was ephemeral, today we expect films to stay with us or we expect them to be with us in our laptops or in our various devices. Now, if you look at option number B, once again, it says today films are expected to be available for a long time since they are no longer tied solely to their stay at the local cinema. So option number B is the correct answer for question number 3. Now look at option number A. It says around a century ago, people were more accepting of not having access to films once they left the local cinema. It is correct. It is not that this is not the particular correct meaning, but as the question says, suggested by the sentence. So A is the actual meaning, but what has been suggested is option number B. Films are expected to be available for a long time. Question number 3, correct answer is option number B. Clear with question number 3? Okay, going forward, if we go to the last question, Netflix has begun editing old episodes of Strange Things to retrospectively improve their visual effects. What is the purpose of this example used in this passage? So what does it mean? It means why has this particular example of Netflix been given? Where do you find this Netflix wala particular line? You find it in the first paragraph, last part, last sentence itself, which says Netflix has begun editing old episodes of Strange Things to retroactively improve their visual effects. Now, what is the purpose of giving this example? ये हमें यही सेंस देता है कि जो ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म्स है ये अपने हिसाब से कंटेंट को मोल्ड कर सकता है, कंटेंट को काइंड ऑफ मॉर्फ या ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकता है, ये उसका इच्छा है, ये उसका say for example priority है. So we may not be able to say for example control this particular thing. So this is the particular purpose. If you go to option number C, it says show a practice that justifies the fear of people who feel streaming services cannot be trusted to be custodians of cultural artifacts like film. Now, just have a look at this particular first part of the option number C. It says a practice that justifies the fear of people. Now, is the exact word which you find in the first paragraph, third line. It says the news seems like a vindication. The word vindication means when you had been fearing something. आप कुछ चीज से डर रहे थे, आपको लग रहा था कि ये हो सकता है, but nobody believed it. But बाद में प्रूव होता है कि आप जो बोल रहे थे वो सही था. That kind of fear is vindication. So C exactly talks about that. It says to show a practice that justifies the fear of people who feel streaming services cannot be trusted to be custodians of cultural artifacts like films. Option number C. Now, if you look at some particular other options, let's say option number D, वो भी काफी close है. It says to show that art in the digital age, specifically film, is no longer sacrosanct. Now, ये no longer sacrosanct or no longer holy वाला part is not there in the given paragraph. And maybe change to suit changing tastes or technology. This is still okay with the paragraph. Is no longer sacrosanct is, say, for example, not a sense that we get out of the film. Similarly, A and B can be cancelled as far-fetched or, say, for example, not factually correct. So question number 4, correct answer is option number C. Now, I guess if we compare passage 1 and passage 2, दोनों को compare करेंगे तो आपको कौन सा वाला easy लगा? I hope you will agree that compared to these two passages, passage 1 is easier and much more doable than this passage number 2. I'm not saying this particular passage is difficult, but आपको वही करना है जो on the easier side है. And hence, I guess the first particular passage is much better compared to this one. So we have come to the end of this particular 2 RCs. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.